Hello everyone, I'm Anil. On behalf of Academy, I welcome you all on my first class and I am going to revise CAIIB in next 30 days. So here's my first class. That means we are going to start with the unit 1 of ABM. The first class is Fundamental of Economics, Microeconomics, Macroeconomics and Types of Economics. So first you know what is economics. Economic is the science which studies human behavior as well as relationship between the ends and scarce. These 2 points are very important. That means there has to be scarcity of the whatever available resources are there, and ends means every resource has to end and they have alternative use also. Moving ahead, if you see what is the essence of economics. An economy also study the efficient use of the resources. That means whatever resources are available with us, they must be efficiently used. Okay, this question has been asked in CIV once, and there has been many economists who studies this economics and they gave their own definition. So Adam Smith was the first person who defined the microeconomics. Micro. So we'll be dealing here two types of economics, micro and macro. And Adam Smith also known as father of modern economics. This is very important. Adam Smith. You can remember Adam Smith is known as father of modern economics. He also wrote one book, Inquiry into Nature and Cause of Wealth of Nation. The book was published in 1776, and you must relate what he gave the definition. That means wealth must concentrate. Here the keyword is the wealth. That means he concentrated his study only in the wealth and no on the consumer. That means who is the actual consumer, he did not talk about anything. And one more definition was given by Professor Alfred Marshall. The definition of Alfred Marshall was basically concentrated in the welfare of human being. That means Adam Smith was only concerned about wealth, whereas Alfred Marshall was concerned about the welfare of human being. So this point you have to keep in mind. Here's the keyword welfare, and there is the keyword wealth. And third definition was given by Lionel Robbins. That is the scarcity definition. And how Lionel Robbins defines this, you can see on the screen. He defines economic as the study of means and ends. So you have to keep in mind these two words, means and ends. Okay, that means Lionel Robbins was concerned about this means and means. You can link with these two words and also the scarcity. That means scarcity word is related to the Lionel Robbins only. And how he has defined? He defined man has unlimited wants. Is actually happened. Means to satisfy human wants are limited. Okay. Resources are not only limited but have alternative use. That means if one resource is available, one alternative is also available. That means if that resource is not able to fulfill the requirement of the human being, that means one alternative is also there. Okay, you can take example of anything. If let us suppose that in tea is not available, then you can make use of the coffee. So this type of resources are there. Man has to make a choice. That means make man can make a choice between the whatever the resources are available. So these are the four ends and means definition was given by the Leonard Robbins. So coming back, you can link once again the three economists, starting with the Alfred Marshall, and Alfred Marshall, that means welfare, Adam Smith, wealth, and Leonard Robbins, scarcity and means and ends definition. So these are three scientists. You have to remember them properly because one question 100% can be asked in the CIB out of this. Okay, and Adam Smith also considered as father of microeconomics. Okay, we'll talk about the microeconomics also. It's coming here. So what is difference between microeconomics and microeconomics? Micro and macro. So micro is concerned about the individual behavior. Keep in mind. Okay, that means a person as, whereas macro is related to nation as a whole. Either you can say nation or you can say regional economy. That means if we talk about our myself or yourself, that become the microeconomics. Okay, your behavior, your spending, and your purchasing like this, that become the micro. And my macro when we talk about our country, our state, that become the macroeconomic. That means micro is the very small part and macro is the very big part. Likewise, you can remember. As father of microeconomics goes to, you can see the slides once again. I'll just show you so that you can remember. Adam Smith. You can see here. Adam Smith is considered as father of modern economics as well as microeconomics. Okay, that means credit goes to Adam Smith. Whereas if we talk about the macroeconomics, founder of microeconomics is John Maynard Keynes. Here is the again one economics has come here. That means macro John Maynard Keynes, micro Smith, Adam Smith. Full name is Adam Smith. Macro John Maynard Keynes. So in this way you can remember. And these are also very important, micro, macro. है And John Maynard Keynes also wrote one book that is called General Theory of Employment and Interest. That means here the key word related to John Maynard Keynes is interest. Interest. Okay. That means now we'll be talking about, if we talk about the theory of interest, that has also been given by John Maynard Keynes. So John Maynard Keynes has credit of creating the theory of interest also. And he also wrote one book, I repeat once again, General Theory of Employment, Interest and Money. General Theory of Employment, Interest and Money. So you can link with this word interest with the John Maynard Keynes. And business cycle was also developed by John Maynard Keynes. That means he talk about the business cycle, how business cycle goes. Okay, that means one enterprise is having some business. So how this business cycle means how business is going up and down. And how many cycles are there? How the difficulties are faced by how they are making the profit. That will study in this year. Okay, and if you talk about the market economy, market economy, commodity economy, and mixed economy. That is, economy is divided basically into three parts. Market economy, that is also known as capitalist economy. I'll repeat once again here: market economy or capitalist economy. Market economy is one in which the private firm or individual controls the whole market. That means major decisions are taken by them, so they control, like in United Kingdom. Okay, in UK, in USA. That means where their private firms, they are controlling the whole market. And command economy, where the government take decision, that is called command economy. Command economy is also known as socialist economy. So sometimes they give you different words also. You have to keep in mind that command economy is also known as socialist economy. Like market economy is also known as capitalist economy. And in command economy is one in which the important decisions are taken by the government. Command means government, and market or capitalist economy where the major decisions are taken by the private firms or individual. And third part is the mixed economy. Mixed economy is one in which private and government both take their decision, like in India. So in India we are having the mixed economy because in India the decisions are taken by both private and government. Okay, like in India. And the example of command economy is like in Russia. Okay, so you can remember market economy or capitalist economy in which the all decisions are taken by to private firms. Command economy or socialist economy, all decisions are taken by the government. And mixed economy, uh, decisions are taken by public sector and private sector together. Okay, and one more word is coming is that is very important. You have to remember it. Laissez-faire. Laissez-faire is coming here word is very. It is the extreme case of market economy. Okay, that means all full market of a country is controlled by private firms. Okay, that means extreme case of. So laissez-faire is a part of market economy only, but in this extreme case nothing is left, everything is controlled by private or individual firms, like this you can say. Now moving ahead, we have come to the second chapter. This is also very important, supply and demand. So in this chapter we'll be talking about the consumption of commodities and goods, because commodities and goods are supplied by the producer and demanded by the consumer. Okay, so there has to be some relation between supply and demand, and the price are controlled, or you can say vary as per the supply and demand. So there are two curves basically supply. We can plot the two curves between price and quantity. That means what is the price of the commodity and what is the quantity of demand or quantity of supply of that. We can draw two curves here. Okay, so you can see here there is relations exist between price and quantity. You might have also seen in normal day-to-day basis. That means if price goes up, quantity demanded become less. Okay, but in supply case this is reverse. If price goes up, the producer they want to sell more. Okay, that means demand and supply curve they are reciprocal to each other. Understood, my friend? That means, so I will reiterate here. That means in demand curve, in demand curve. Okay, that means in demand curve, if price goes high, if price goes high of a particular commodity, the quantity demanded will be less. Okay, this is our normal tendency also. If price of something goes up, we don't tend to buy more. That means we'll require less thing. Okay, but in sale case, that means if price of the commodity is going high, the seller want to sell more. Okay, that means now you have to remember here the keyword. If you plot two curves here, demand curve and supply curve, so both are inversely proportional. Okay, both are inversely proportional. So if we represent the graphical, I just show you the how the demand curve is represented here. If this is your x-axis and this is the y-axis, you might have learned in 10th class or 9th class also. So your demand curve will be like this. Demand curve will come like this. Okay, demand curve is always downward sloping. So demand curve is always downward sloping. Whereas the supply curve will be upward sloping. Upward sloping. So this is the demand curve, this demand curve, and this is the supply curve. So you can relate like this. So demand curve is always downward sloping and supply curve is always upward sloping. And demand curve is also called demand schedule. So sometimes they give the keyword also demand schedule also, like supply schedule, demand schedule. So what is the law of downward sloping? That means it is related to something demand curve when the price of a commodity is raised. If when the price of commodity is raised and other things being constant, buyer tend to less. And I said already, that means if price goes up, buyer tend to purchase less. Similarly, when the price is lowered, when we try to purchase more, that means demand increases. That means market demand curve obey the law of downward sloping. This keep in mind always. That means what is the law of downward sloping? Market demand curve always obey the law of downward sloping demand. And one more thing you have to remember that in demand curve and supply curve, the price price always come in the x-axis. That means you always draw the curve between the price and quantity. Here the price and here the quantity. So quantity will always come in the x-axis. Here the quantity and price will come in the x-axis. That means I'll just show you once again the curve here, like demand curve will be like this and other curve means supply curve will be like this. And there will be one intersection. Here is the intersection point where the demand and supply are equivalent. Means whatever supply has been done, all quantity has been consumed by buyer or consumer. So if you talk about one particular commodity, so you can say whatever the supply has been cut, so this is called equivalent point, or you can say the this is the equivalent. That means whatever the supply has been done, that is has been consumed by the consumer. Now you can see what are the factors which influence the demand curve. Demand curve means demand curve means the demand of particular commodity is influenced by these factors. That means you can see the average income of human being. If income is more, they tend to buy more. Size of the market. If market size is more, the demand will be more. If population is more, demand will be more. Price and availability of related goods. I gave the example, if tea is not available, people prefer to take coffee. And price of the other commodities. If suppose the price of the coffee is going on or increases, that means the people will prefer to shift their demand to the tea. And next factor is taste and preferences. That means depending upon the taste of the people, they try to demand particular object. And special influences also. Okay, special influences means that depends on the particular choice. And moving ahead, we just have talked about the supply schedule also. Supply schedule is the supply of the goods by the seller in the market. And supply schedule is also a drawn curve between price and quantity only. But here you have to remember, I repeated here, supply schedule is always upward sloping curve. That means the curve goes up. Okay. There is also sometime shift of demand curve, like if other than the price of the commodity, there is other factors which may affect than the supply schedule and demand schedule will shift. That means the curve will shift. I'll just show you here how the curve will shift. Once again, I'll draw here. Suppose this is your demand schedule here. Then other factor I just told you likewise. And a non-availability of the quantity, then demand curve may shift upward or downward. Likewise, same way, supply curve also shift like this. If it is going like this, may shift like this. Means other factors which are influencing, then the curve may shift either right direction or left direction. See what are the factors which influence the supply curve. So first is the main cost of production. That means if cost of production is high, naturally price will go up. Price of input and technological advances. That means whatever technology is being used, if the cost is more, and sometimes what happens that technology may be cost effective. If you are using the advanced technology, that means cost will go down. Next is the government policy. Sometimes what happens, the government also impose some restrictions or put some extra taxes. In that case, the cost will go up. Prices of related goods. Okay, prices of related goods. That means the goods which are being used to produce that commodity. That means raw material. And special factors like weather influence, farming, and agro industry. So weather also influences, like if some extra rain is there and your agriculture is destroyed, then naturally the cost will go up. So these also what are the factors affecting the supply curve? Cost of production is the main thing. But how the cost of production is being influenced, that comes under the price of input and technological advances, government policies, prices of related goods, and you can think about the special factors also like weather, and other factors also, they affect the supply curve. So I'll reiterate once again here, what is the market equilibrium? That means market equilibrium is the condition where the supply and demand both are at equilibrium. That means whatever the supply is being made, same is being demanded. And if you talk about the curve, both the curve they intersect at that point. That means the point of intersection of supply curve and demand curve are known as point of equilibrium. That means where the both supply and demand are equal. So regarding the market equilibrium, you must also remember one point here, that is also called market clearing price. This is very important here. What is market clearing point? Or you can say what is market clearing price? This is called market equilibrium. That means at the market equilibrium where the supply and demand both become equal. That means, I'll repeat here, where the supply, whatever supply is being made, that is being demanded. That means everything being consumed. That is also called market clearing price. That is the price of that commodity at that particular point. Okay, this equilibrium price and market clearing price. That means whatever supply is being made, that is being cleared. Nothing buffer stock is available in the market. So friends, with this we have finished our two chapters, and we'll continue third chapter in the next video. So please like our video if you like it, and you can subscribe is also for the next video, and you can share with your friends also, so that they are also benefited by this effort. Thank you very much. See you once again.